Joe, hey, thanks for the opportunity to share some of the benefits and challenges that I've bumped into. First off, we'll take a look at benefits and challenges of several groups, starting with students. The biggest benefit for me is I truly believe in a constructivist classroom, and this allows students to build their own learning. It puts students in charge of the pace and place, and those are the big buzzwords around blended learning. They're going to be able to access your information digitally wherever there's some Wi Fi, and that's huge. Access to the course schedule and information takes that student that's a little bit disconnected and makes sure that they are regularly informed of what's going on. Certainly, digital formative assessments. The system I use gives the students immediate feedback, allows them to learn from their failures, and it gives them a moment of success when they reach that desired outcome. My digital formative assessments are expected to be done at 100%, and the students will have 5 efforts to get that done, 5 tries, and they know that they can go back and learn from their mistakes as they go. Certainly, much more peer interaction. I have the ability to uh, work class differently. Students are no longer seated in a theater mode, they're seated in groups. Their collaboration, the social nature of their learning is heightened and taken advantage of. Certainly, the ability to differentiate. I co-teach 3 special ed classes, so I'm the biology teacher in the room. There's a special ed teacher in the room, but we have a significant population of kids that need some help, and so the ability to differentiate. Uh, it would be almost impossible without blended learning to differentiate at the level that I am doing. Okay. Certainly, resources. I have a variety of different resources, and I can choose some different resources based on the student's need. My interactions with the students has changed dramatically. It's let me focus on building relationships. It's let me focus on being an individual in the room to guide these students rather than just being the teacher. And certainly, I've greatly appreciated the autonomy in the students' learning that lets them uh, break that I can't do this mentality. And I've seen that happen with several students, and it's a huge benefit. Okay. Quote from one of my own students recently: student challenges. This is more difficult than a traditional setting. If you walk into class, sit down, listen to the teacher talk for a while, and then get up and leave, that's pretty easy. Okay, students have to learn to lean into this work. And if they don't, the coursework will soon put them in a situation where they're behind, and they're going to have some challenges to get themselves caught up. It will be difficult, but because it's going to be difficult, because it will push them beyond their comfort zone, it will cause them to learn. There's definitely going to be some buy-in issues. Uh, the excuse becomes the technology. Okay, now it's, well, I could learn biology if Mugen would teach it the way that I learn. I don't like computers. I don't learn this way. I don't use computers. I get students that, well, I don't use computers. Well, I'm not sure which world you're going to live in the future if you're not a computer user. So um, ultimately, the online learning becomes their excuse, and we have to battle that. Device maintenance, you name it, we battle it. I've got extra chargers in my room. We have extra machines in the room just in case. We have, and it's just a constant battle to deal with the devices. Um, my students are truly self-paced, and that causes all sorts of issues. I'm not going to work on it now. I'm going to do it at home. I always tell the students, hey, you can procrastinate later. You have me as a help right now. Let's work this. There are some instances, by the way, where my students do the online portion of my blended learning system in the classroom, what's sometimes referred to as the in-class flip. Uh, Students on their games, athletes on the online video service that records their games and matches and things. Um, It's definitely a challenge. I'm asking them to learn on a machine that avails them to the entire internet. Blended learning benefits for teachers. Student-centered, constructivist classroom. It's hugely powerful. Definitely increased student engagement. This is a panoramic picture of a typical day in my classroom, and you can see that we've got students on biology on my website, and they're working through things. This is definitely a different level of preparation. In order to roll out an online component, that online component has to be finished. And so, from that perspective, I'm always prepared. I've always got a blended unit in a can that I can use if need be. Um, and it certainly changes the type of work that I do as a teacher. Now my work is mainly working with students and maintaining an online system. The online material is current, pertinent, engaging, and there's regularly new stuff out there. It's not an old school textbook that might have up to date material. Again, differentiation. The students that need help, I can tweak my system to help those students that need it. Um, Recently, I've gone from this kind of system, which can be a little bit overwhelming for a special ed student, to this kind of system. This is a Google Doc with hyperlinks. And so I've got some special ed students that will now just click on these links and these questions, and it allows them to have some autonomy while being guided in a much more direct fashion. Definitely pace. Here you can see these two students on the left finishing a laboratory while the students on the right were already finished with their work and they've moved on. Tons of increased data from formative assessments and all of the different formative assessments that are out there. I can see who's finished with what. I can see who needs to continue and complete. I can see who's struggling. And it just allows me to be in charge of what's going on in the classroom. And the content being online. This is my friend Brad. He let me use this picture. There's just no lost assignments. There's no I left it at school. There's no I forgot it at home. It's available wherever you can access the online. Okay, flexibility, schedule wise, snow day. We have a lab that took 3 days that usually takes two. That's okay. I can always tell my students we're going to complete stage 3 for this topic at home, and we're going to spend an extra day on the student inquiry in this lab. Absences. I love this picture. We had a kid that wore a cape to class regularly. There he is. That's my student, okay, in my classroom. When I'm absent, giving a presentation or whatever else I might get to go do, I know that my students are functionally engaged and that a substitute, any substitute, can get in there and help my kids be a learner, even though they're not a content expert. Modularity of topics allows me to move things around quickly and easily. Lab work. Now I can have true independent inquiry. Hey, how's the end of this lab going? This is what you learned about the topic at hand. What would you like to do to test a different situation? And the time that I can take to do that is just time that I haven't had in the past. Field trips, flexibility for field trips, time for debates and discussions, and certainly field work. Here we're testing some streams and monitoring some streams. It the flexibility is just one of the greatest benefits, and it's difficult to describe how remarkable it is. Certainly, one of the greatest benefits for me as a teacher. This is my co-teacher and I, Clay and I, Mr. Workman, working with a young lady, and just having an opportunity to get to know the kids has really increased my joy of teaching again. Been in the classroom 29 years, and I can truly say that blended learning has helped me to enjoy what I do once again.